It's the only Super Bowl I've ever watched where there were 4 MVPs minimum. Howie Roseman, the general manager, Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback who won it for the Eagles, and the entire defensive line. It was so dominating, it has to have a ripple effect on the Dallas Cowboys and the Niners and the Rams and the Packers and how they draft. Does it not? Like, how do you block that? I mean, it was really, really good during the regular season. What was that? I mean, we talk quarterbacks all the time on this show, yet Philly humiliated Patrick Mahomes. They could not block the Eagles. I mean, Saquon Barkley was almost irrelevant. The tush-push was his most activity. The D-line, the total defense. It makes Nick Sirianni this morning look like Belichick. Philadelphia's GM has and uses all the levers. Drafting, trading, free agency. And it's a relentless pursuit of excellence. Very good is not good enough. Look at their 2 picks. One is a rookie. Another one is a transformed special teams player. That is so Howie Roseman. Look at the touchdown passes. One's a Heisman winner. One, A.J. Brown, comes via a massive trade. The only roster I've seen like this in the last 15 to 20 years was that Seahawk roster when they had a similar quarterback, the elusive Russell Wilson, on the rookie contract. And remember, we've seen this before. That Seahawk defense harassed and humiliated another legend, Peyton Manning. That's what we watched yesterday. That was the lowest point for Peyton Manning in his career. Well, yesterday, Mahomes was awful. I mean, there's no shame losing to a great team. But if you look at the box score, that's the most deceiving box score outside of the turnovers I've ever seen for a quarterback. It says Patrick Mahomes, 21 of 32, and a passer rating of 95. That is junk points, junk yards, and junk completions. He had 1 first down in the first half on the first play. And what was most disappointing is that he never seemed to sort of manipulate the game. But let's just talk about Philadelphia here. They had more penalty yards, did Kansas City, than actual yards in the first half. Think about that. The Eagles had more points in the first half than Kansas City actually had yards. It was Peyton Manning facing that Seahawk defense. And last week, we said, I think this Philadelphia roster is the best since that Seahawk roster. And, man, did we say it on display. Now, maybe it was inverse where Seattle, remember that Seahawk team, the big win, they're going to do 2, and I don't know in what order Philadelphia is going to go, but I just watched a flurry, a defensive line, rookie corners, a game plan, and Mahomes was completely out of sorts. I mean, Philadelphia, this is what we thought they could be at their best. But throughout the course of the season, I can remember in week 8, 9, 10, 11, we're like, there are quarters, they're amazing. But remember early in the year, they couldn't score in the first quarter. Remember early in the year, we're like, man, they have drives. How do they ever punt? But you'd get like 2 drives a game. They put it all together last night. The GM, the DC, the quarterback, the O-line, the D-line. They didn't even need Saquon Barkley. And here was the young head coach after.
This is the ultimate team game. You can't be great without the greatness of others. And great performance by everybody. Offense, defense, special teams, Howie getting us the guys, our coaching staff, these great players. We didn't really ever care what anyone thought about how we won or their opinions. All we want to do is win.
You know, my entire career, I have said things about quarterbacks that I care about your temperament. Are you good at the podium? Hat on forward. You know, and I get a lot of pushback. But my point being in the bigger picture is it's not just about reading defense. It's about reading the room and the temperature of the locker room. And I don't think it's any coincidence that Jalen Hurts is the son of 2 educators. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's the son of a football coach. His temperament, his maturity, he always takes the high road, whether winning a Super Bowl or getting benched at Alabama. And I think leadership, podium, all this stuff, temperament, self-awareness matters. Forget the passing and running. He is the dictionary of what winning is in the NFL. In his Super Bowl career, his numbers are incredible. 109.5 passer rating. 73% completion percentage. It's almost as if he works out the kinks in the regular season. That deep ball to Devontae Smith was one for the ages. I find him such an easy guy to root for. A second-round pick, doubted, bench, had to transfer. He's just, and I've been on this for years, it can't just be about you've got a good arm. It's about as much how you handle adversity being a quarterback as it is how you handle a blitz. And I just think he's a special kid. Real yards in real crisis, and the fact that his arguably the two best games he's ever played as a pro have come in Super Bowls. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it speaks volumes. I think he's got a great inner scoreboard. He doesn't need to project. He doesn't need to pretend. He's just such a perfect temperament as this sport. And think about Philadelphia, one of the loudest, most relentless, toughest, most demanding medias in the country. They love their team. Sometimes it's overboard, and here is this quiet, steady rock who plays his best games in the most distracted, loudest moments. They say iron sharpens iron, and he is a Super Bowl anvil. And here he is after.
You said after Super Bowl 57, you sat in the locker room and you thought to yourself, I'll be back. You got back, and now you're a champion. How does that feel?
Well, personally, myself, I've just been able to use every experience and learn from it. The good, the bad, all of it, using it as fuel to pursue my own greatness. And I think I couldn't do any of these things without the guys around me. You know, we had a special group this year. We were able to learn from the past and get some nice new pieces and get over that hump.
There were times he felt like the adult in the room, not the head coach, which is why this team, and we've noted this several times, they're kind of hard to get your arms around. You got position coaches firing back at the head coach, but the adult in the room, it's the young quarterback. That's what it feels like. And that's not a shot at Sirianni. He's just highly emotional. And there are advantages. You know, whenever a quarterback falls in the draft, we lament what an embarrassing situation it is for the quarterback. But I will tell you, falling in the draft and ending up with Howie Roseman as your general manager has really worked. And I'm saying, this kid in this city, in this environment, with the intensity of Philadelphia, I did have him in my top 10. I had him 10. I'm going to move him up to 6. Good for him. Easy guy to root for. Well, let's talk about something that may be uncomfortable.
What is that?
What's that?
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagle! Let's go, baby! Sorry about that. I thought I heard something.
No, I'm like, the world saw something and heard something. We'll get to that in a second because you deserve it, and I think it's good for the NFL. I think there's no luck. Bottom line, owner, GM, coach,
Yes.
quarterback, good people. The fans care. They're all in. It just goes to prove, to be a champion, you got to beat the crap out of a champion.
Right,
That's
right.
But I want to talk about this, and you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Tom Brady never trails 34-0. And there were Super Bowls. He acknowledged in one of his Super Bowls, I don't get time. I'm just going to dump it off to James White over and over and over.
Gotta do something.
And I think Tom always found a way, even with a bad poker hand, to move the chains. He may not give you 30, but he'd keep your damn offense off the field.
Yeah.
He'd keep his defense off the field. Mahomes was awful.
Mahomes was bad that last game.
I mean, what's the gap, Brady and Mahomes?
So before this game, I was a big guy saying, hey, this gap is closer than which people think, right? And all the success that Patrick Mahomes has been doing lately, the team, and I played with Pat, so I know him and Tom share that same winning gene of, okay, I'm going to get it done. But watching this game last night against the Eagles, first of all, there was a lot of, because everybody's going to say, oh, the lazy thing is the line didn't block, right? And they were getting beat on. There were some of them plays, though, he kind of stepped up in the pocket. I think he kind of got rattled in the pocket, right?
Oh, he did.
He was moving so much. And you throwing pick sixes and et cetera and throwing picks. So when I look at Tom Brady, where okay, things are not going my way. They're not blocking the same way. I got to do something. I can't just sit here and get blown out. I'm the greatest. And Tom would never.
This is clearly was
to the running backs, right? We're gonna make this game as boring as possible. Now we're gonna get a whole bunch of 2nd and 5s, right? 2nd and 6, and we're gonna make this game manageable until the defense does something differently. Because if you really watch the Eagles, they didn't really do much on defense. They rushed forward and they kept everything in front of them.
Oh no, it was an indictment. And in fairness, we knew the Eagles, because I've been saying this all year. And I said this about 5 different times in the last 3 weeks. There are drives when I look at Philadelphia and I think, how do they ever punt?
Because they're just so loaded.
Tight ends, guards. I mean, it's just relentless. There is something to be said about Jalen Hurts' 2 best games as a pro.
Super Bowls, yeah.
What does that say?
Yeah. See, and it's funny because, like, you know, I think Jalen Hurts right now is going to change the narrative on quarterbacks, right? It's like it goes from we got to have the best attribute quarterback. We got to have this. We got to have that. Now it's like, hey, man, we need to do with some heart like Jalen Hurts, leadership like Jalen Hurts, and the winning factor. You know, when the stage is bright, right, he just gets brighter. I mean, he was making so many plays. Now, granted, the defense played great. I don't want to take anything from
defense. He's so good on that sideline route.
And that's another thing, though. And then it's like he puts it together, though. I'm throwing when I'm supposed to throw, right? I'm running when I'm supposed to run. Because the running game was done last night, right? And it's like, if you told, okay, we'll win this game and blow them out, and Saquon doesn't
do anything,
nobody will believe that. But Jalen Hurts, that's what I think about him, is like he plays this game the right way, and he gets better. And he never gets like too up and down, right? No matter if you say bad things about him or great things about him, he stays in his own lane. He always says, hey, look, man, I already had a purpose before you had an opinion, right? And I think he really lives by that, because there's some games where, hey, he throws for 130 yards, and there's some games he has 200, almost 300 yards all purpose, and they blow him out. And I always said this, when